Hi guys, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Dana, and I'm really excited to be back today with my husband Josh making another video. We are going to be talking about just overall delight in your children, kind of what that looks like for us, kind of why we decided to talk about this and do a video about it. So yeah, it is probably going to be a little bit of not a heavier topic, but one that will probably take some while just kind of like talking through and kind of tell you where kind of our mindset is, and then as well as just provide some encouragement. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So we were talking this morning, and we were kind of talking about just overall kind of delight and what the difference was between like delighting in your children versus just surviving until nap time or surviving until a bedtime. And
surviving in general.
Just surviving in general, and how to get out of that mindset of like, oh, I'm just surviving until bedtime, until their kids don't have to be around me anymore. So we're kind of on the topic of delight, and like, how do we delight in our children? How do you balance? Yes, some days can be very long and hard and challenging, while also how do you delight in your children, like thoroughly enjoy them and enjoy being with them and delighting in them. What sparked this for me, and I was telling him this morning as far as really wanting to talk about this, and this is honestly myself also talking to me as well, like I'm talking to myself here, and that was, I was telling him this morning that I was on Instagram and I was working on some like hashtags, that way I can just copy, cut, and paste. And it was really sad to me how the first hashtag when you type in like children are or kids are or something, like the first #1 trending is like kids are, and then instead of a blessing, it's kids are the worst. That was like the first hashtag on Instagram, and that was really saddening to me to see how far I think as a society has come when it comes to their view on children, especially families, children in the home, and things like that, to where the #1 trending thing is kids are the worst.
People
which
forget
is so
they
sad to me. Yeah, so talking about just like the actual delighting in your children, I know this is going to look different in every season. We're going to be talking about our season right now, which is in the little years. Our oldest is 7. So we have a 7, 5, 2, and then a almost 7-month-old. And so we're going to be kind of talking about how that looks for us, how we kind of try to incorporate kind of how we delight in our children. We're not perfect at it. I know we have all the long days as well. And but you can still find moments to delight in them. I think it's really important that they also feel delighted in. But from your perspective, I honestly want to go back into like when our childhood, when we were little, and those moments that our parents delighted in us, how amazing that felt with us. So what's your first moment of delight that you felt like you were so, like being really wholly delighted in as a child, for you personally?
As a child, I remember asking questions just to get attention.
Yes, yeah.
And now my children do the same thing, and it brings back memories of doing it. This goes way back when I was really little. I remember and my parents are pretty patient towards us, but they would answer all our questions, and I remember asking questions that I already knew the answer to, just to conversate with my parents. And I remember memories of sitting on my mother's bed, just conversating with my mom. And those are some of my oldest memories. I also remember Dad working on Tree Fort with me. Lots of different memories like that. Riding our bikes. I remember looking at my parents instead of where I was going. And crashing into things.
Like Maddie
just
does.
Enjoying the attention I was getting from just kind of knowing that your parents are watching you and paying attention to you. And now my children do this, or especially one of them does the same thing. So, what about you?
Same. And when you mentioned the parents paying attention to you, I think that's the whole I think it wraps up the whole essence of delight in and of itself. It's not necessarily because we can be with our kids all day, but they know when we are actually watching them, and they know obviously we're home all day together. He works from home for most of the time, and so do I. So we're together a lot, but they know, like I said, we could be together 24 hours a day, but they know when they're being delighted in. And so going back to when I was a child, it was those core memories of, it wasn't just like your parents always being together, because I'm a second generation homeschooler. So my mom was always with me, but it was in those core, like the actual core memories of, you connect that core memory to when were your parents actually watching you, delighting in you, and all those summer nights of like running around in the lawn when we were little and just looking up on the porch, and my parents weren't doing anything other than watching us play, and they were smiling doing it. And so that core memory of being delighted in is one of the most fulfilling things. And it's funny because all my core memories, I think my youngest memory, we were talking about this the other day when we were little, like our youngest memories and what they were, a lot of them involved really our parents watching us. And it may not have been necessarily that they were doing anything with us per se, but it was like we solely felt like we were being delighted in, like we were making them happy, if that makes any sense at all. So those core memories, and so that kind of brings us to a point, and we are kind of reflecting on this quite a bit the past few weeks, or at least I have anyway. When I've been talking about like what I want to say in this video, because I feel like it's such like it's a hard thing to talk about because I don't know exactly how to put it in words. Like, how do you delight in your children? It's hard to.
It's easier to see than not delight.
Yes.
That's easier to see in videos and on TV and so on.
Yes. Yeah. And so I was like going back and forth with not knowing exactly how to talk about it. I knew I wanted to, but then going back to those childhood memories, of those core memories, all of them had to do with, how I would my parents watching us and how important that was. And I feel like, social media and then today's technology in the world, it has its pros and cons, but one of the hardest parts being a parent nowadays is there's so many distractions. There are so many distractions. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
It's so easy to just pick up a screen of any sort, shape, and size and lose an hour or two without even realizing it. You really got to keep track of what you're spending your time. And it's harder maybe to focus on your children just watching them, but they really do like it when you do. Yeah, because like back when I was little, smartphones weren't a thing. There weren't these like portable digital devices. And so, growing up was one of the few last generations here of the parents were not really, like when they're out there with you playing, they were really genuinely just watching you play. And so that sense of delight and wanting to give that to my kids, the gift of an undistracted parent. Entertainment devices didn't follow you outside back then.
No, nowadays they go with you. You put them in your pocket and you have the world at your fingertips. And the temptation is there. And so learning how really to be present and delight without that following you around. For me and delighting in the kids, I think it's also a quietness of the mind as well, because my own mind can be distracting in and of itself without technology. So like I can be with the kids, but am I really there, or am I thinking about whatever everything else that needs to be done? And they can sense that too. They can sense that.
I think technology also complicates, like you have the ability to be thinking about things even when you put the phone down. You're still thinking about what you maybe looked at on the phone. So your mind never leaves the technology even when you're technically not looking at it.
And as a parent, I think in today's society as well, especially if you're a homeschooling mama, it's like you're the homeschooling mom, you're also like doing the cleaning and the cooking and taking care of the home, on top of like you're also being a mom, on top of the teacher, on top of everything else. It can be easy to step back and be like, well, I spent all this time with my kids, but I don't know. I think there's a difference for me, and a disconnect as far as like you're spending time with them and the actual delighting in them. So the practical side of delighting in them, I think looking at our kids now, the actual practical ways that we delight with them on a day-to-day basis.
I like to focus on one at a time, I think.
It's a lot,
because it's so easy to just kind of like watch them all play, and it is fun to do that. But if you focus on one and give that one attention, one-on-one attention, even if they're all in the room, but you're focusing on one child at a time, kind of pointing out their benefits, their what they're doing really well in life, what are small stuff obviously when they're little, but maybe one of them said a new word, so you're focusing on that, and they pick up on the fact that you're focusing on
you're celebrating
just them.
Yeah,
just that one them, because they like their siblings just as much as you do, but they also like to know that you're paying attention to them in particular. And I think growing up, that was something we all enjoyed, and it was rare. It was very rare, because as a parent, you're just kind of trying to get through the day, get everything done at the right amount of time slots, and give your children attention in general, but to give each child the attention that it deserves, it needs, when it needs it, is hard, but I think very fulfilling.
It's extremely fulfilling, and I'm glad you said the fulfilling word, because that's like one of the things that before I go to bed, when it comes to spending time with the kids, I know whether or not, at least in my mind, and it's easy to like fall into the trap of mom guilt of no matter what you do and how you do it, you always feel like you're not doing enough.
It will never be enough, but you will know when you do what you know is possible. You will feel much better than those days when you know you didn't do what you could have done.
It's like going to bed at night,
reasonably.
You're also fulfilled because you know you did your best, versus going to bed at night and being like, I should have done this. And I think it's easy as parents to do that almost every night because there's still not enough time in the day. The time literally, like, it just flies by.
It does. I think crazy. Really just got to focus on the minute by minute. So in one moment, if somebody's doing something that needs your attention, you can just drop everything in your mind and compartmentalize.
Yeah, that's hard for me to do.
And just focus on that one moment and get a full moment's worth of attention, or give a full moment's worth of attention to said child, and they will give you that same thing in return. And you'll remember that moment more than the hours hours you spent doing everything else that needed to get done.
Yeah, and then what I always connect the core memories for when we were little to wanting to provide that for our children, and realizing that it's going to be those simple moments that we're not necessarily doing anything for them. It's going to be like those moments of connection that they're going to walk away as their core memory. And a way that I like hands-on, like to delight in them, because it's actually, I think delight too is, it's a feeling, but it's also like a sense. And I was reading, I think it was in Genesis 3, was the first time that the word delight was actually used in the Bible, and it was referring to, I think, the fruit on the tree when it was delightful. I think that's the verse I'm thinking of. Anyway, and so it refers to sight. Like delight, the first time it was mentioned in the Bible, was referred to as the actual seeing with your eyes and sight. So actually, like, realizing that in that regard is like when you are delighting in your children, you are actually watching them, you're actually seeing them. And like they know that you're watching them or whatever. A couple of ways I like to do that, like practically speaking, when you are super busy and you may not have like the actual time, I say time lightly, but the time to like devote to each individual person is like, actually for my kiddos, I realize that they like being included in every aspect of what we're doing, but they like helping me cook. Like they love helping do dinner. They love chopping potatoes, and they like actually being included and knowing that like, hey, they have a part in this family, they're part of the family unit, and actually like the feeling of being delighted in, but also us watching them do that and celebrate the small achievements.
They also like to know what's going on.
They do,
they really like to know.
Yes, every single night, yeah. And I think the sense of delight too in them is, you know, every single night when they do ask us, like, what are we doing tomorrow? They need a play-by-play.
They need a plan.
Yes.
As hard as it is to give them the plan, because then they're going to ask about it repeatedly. I think it's important that they kind of have an idea about what's going on. It makes them feel
important, like they're one of us, and just like we want to know what's going on the next day, as far as like we want to make sure we're on the same page the next day, or even that morning, they also want to know. And so giving them that inclusivity, as far as like making sure that they know that they are in this family, they're in the family unit, we're delighting in them, knowing what's going on, seeing what's going on. And Oliver, like at night, he'll be like, so what are we having for breakfast tomorrow?
That's true.
What are we having for lunch? And then what are we having for dinner?
He already wants to know.
He's all about the food.
At the end of the meal he just ate, he wants to know what's coming next.
Yes. Yeah, it's so funny. But that's his way of kind of, I don't know, like, he's really into food. So, including him in that is a way for us to just delight in him. But yeah, just noticing that letting him know that we know how he feels and sees the day is really important. Something really simple.
I think growing up, I don't know if my parents did that as well, but some of the few things we knew were coming up were like holidays or vacations. And I just remember always counting down, the moments till those moments. Yeah. And that was just knowing what was going on. I didn't know much of anything else that was going on growing up, but I knew those things were happening, and they were always pretty reliable, especially the holidays. Can't cancel those. So.
Yeah.
So that was something that was secure in our lives. So I think security is part of it too.
Yeah, it is a huge sense of it. When you are delighted in, it provides a huge sense of security. Yeah. As I think I feel like you're saying all the right words as far as going on to the next section. But the actual security is the Lord delights in us and we delight in Him. Is another huge one too. And I feel like because we are delighting in Him, that provides us a huge security. Just in the way that our children delighting in us delighting in our children gives them a huge security, knowing, because they don't have to doubt, just like we don't have to doubt the love of the Lord for us. They never have to doubt for a second that we love them or for them, and everything like that. So I think that's a really good connection to make as far as we're really solely delighting in them. So I think it is more of a feeling. It is an actual seeing them and everything. And for the busy parents or the busy mama who isn't busy, right?
So this isn't for the non-busy parents.
No. One of the things that I want to encourage, I think, parents in general is something so simple that you can do in the everyday life that's actually tells your children and shows them, more importantly, that you're delighting in them. And that's what we kind of talked about, is just watching them. You're not reading a book, you're not on your phone. You can even be cooking in dinner while you're kind of looking up and making eye contact, getting down on their level, making eye contact with them. And I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do, almost, is just by watching them, because those are the moments that they're going to really feel.
Just be careful, because they will watch you back.
Yes,
and
they will.
Not necessarily watch what they're doing. So
yes,
remind them to watch where they're going.
Yes,
especially when they're little.
Our 2-year-old loves being chased.
Yeah.
And so, but she gets so much joy, and she really is the description of delight. She's so delightful, and she really senses when she's being delighted in, because she's just all smiles. Yeah. You can see her heart pop out of her and just be all grins.
She gets very excited and zealous about
it. Very excited, very excited. And so when she knows that she's being watched, she'll kind of tiptoe and want you to chase her, and so we'll chase her.
Yeah. But she won't always watch where she's going, because she wants to watch you.
Yeah, she'll be
she's
so excited
that you're into what she's into. That she'll run into things and get hurt.
Yeah, I was chasing her a couple days ago, and she was so excited by watching me look at her that she will run into the wall. And so
really run into the wall.
when we're chasing her, we have to you reminded me when she ran to the wall. I was like, oh, I forgot that she does that. You were you have to kind of when you're chasing her, you have to watch out for her, not just chase her.
Stop her or yell, remind her to look where she's going.
Yeah, because she's just so delighted, Yeah.
And it's so sad when she crashes.
Yeah.
Goes from one extreme to the other.
Yes. Yeah, and so just something so simple as watching them, and like you said, once you initially make that first eye contact, even with our 5 and 7-year-old, when we're all in the living room together and I'll be sitting on the couch or something, and even if I'm reading a book or if I'm on my phone working, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's if I put that thing down and just watching them, they are just totally different children almost, to the point they just get so excited just by being watched. And then they almost enter into this new performance level to where they're oh my goodness, they're watching me, I have their sole attention, what can I do now?
Exactly.
So it's really precious to see how much they want to be delighted in and how much they actually need that at the end of the day. And it's hard, because at the end, we were talking about this morning, but at the end of that 12-hour day, and I was asking you, I'm okay, so at the end of a 12-hour day, we're tired, and then they come up to you at the end of the day, and you're well, do you want to play a game? And you're oh.
Because that's their time when they have the most energy.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, our children are from after dinner for about an hour, from like 7 to 8 is their like, they just run loops around the house. Yeah.
So we're all like ready to settle down and not have any more
ready to just
exercise.
Unwind. Yeah.
And they're ready to
play. Yeah.
Play hard.
Yeah.
And they want you to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you could chase them or play hide and seek
yeah.
or anything like that, they'll be super excited.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good exercise for us adults to practice, you know, putting out that last bit of energy.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll sleep better.
Yeah. Something that I think I'm working on is how to respond to it, because at the end of the day, and again, it goes back to also if you have been with them all day, but you're not showing delight during the day, that evening time can almost be, well, they're really now for connection now. And if they haven't had that connection in the middle of the day, it can be hard for them, I think, also because they're wanting that last bit of an actual affirmation or attention before bed and things. And I think for me, especially as a homeschool mom, you can get your kind of, I don't want to say philosophy, but kind of like mindset mixed up a little bit, because I'm like, well, I'm with them all morning, we're doing homeschool, we make lunch, we do lunch cleanup together, we'll read books after, we'll do all these things for like 4 or 5 hours. And then, but for the afternoon, they normally free play. They like, you know, getting into their own imaginative play and playing all afternoon. So by the evening, I'm just like, okay, well, I guess time to wind down. Yeah. We'll do our story time and things like that. But sometimes I forget that the homeschooling aspect of it is not necessarily their form of like seeking connection. Even though for me, it is honestly like homeschooling is a way of me connecting with them, but it's
their work.
If for them, yes, it's more of their work.
Some of them more than others.
Yes. But they're looking for the actual like connection with their mom, not the actual like teacher part. Yeah. And so I noticed a big difference in the afternoon. Like I'll dedicate one day. It sounds like really weird, but like we were talking about like just Mondays really just being that one day where there's like zero things to do, zero work, zero like nothing on the to-do list other than them being our work as far as like the actual playtime and extra fun stuff. And there's a big difference in the actual moods in the evening by doing those connection times in the afternoon. And it could be something simple, like when they actually come up and say, hey, do you want to play? It's like, yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that powerful way of saying like, yes, instead of like, oh, just a minute, or like, oh, and then you forget about it, so they go find something else to do, but I just missed my window of opportunity to really show them that I'm delighting in them, that I'm choosing them over anything else. And I think that's a really powerful thing too, as well as that they know you're busy, but they still ask you to do something. And so not missing that opportunity.
Yeah, because if you say no, it's not the same if you say yes later, because it's kind of like, you already said no. So it's kind of, it's not the same. Yeah, and then it goes back and forth to there being like, and then sometimes you can bring it, ask them if they want to do something. And I feel that is really that's special. Something that makes their moment. Yes. That is really, really special. Like when I go up to my daughter and say, hey, do you want to make a blanket for it with mommy? Oh my goodness, her whole day is made. That'll fill their cup up quickly. Yeah. So if you want to fill their cup up quickly, you should go out of your way to seek them. Yeah. Than waiting for them to ask. I think that's with any relationship, is like you want to be sought out as well. And the same goes for children. Like they want to actually be sought out in a relationship, just like anyone else would be in a relationship, doesn't matter what it is to actually be the one to seek them out too. I think it's really special, especially for little people. And again, that goes back to the word delight and being delighted in them. Yeah, is there anything else you want to add as far as the overall delight in our children? And again, this video is probably all over the place because I didn't have an outline or anything. I'm just kind of sharing with what's been on my mind. But it's kind of a podcast. Yeah. I was going to say that it's kind of like when you go to work, it's the same concept. If you start the week out just trying to make it through the week, it's a lot less enjoyable than if you take the time to enjoy the moments as they come by, moment by moment, and then not just living for the weekends that way. Yeah, it's true. If you just live for one aspect of life, then the rest of your life's just gonna fly by, and you're gonna be like, where did it all go? So, you'll spend your time waiting for a break or waiting. Yeah, you can't live for like the future. You gotta enjoy every little moment as they go by, especially in the little years. They go by so quick. They do, and it's crazy. You can never get them back, and you're going to be like, oh wait, where did they all go? Yeah. So make sure you're enjoying those small moments and then you can always attain or strive to move in a direction, but enjoy the ride there.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yep. Well, we're going to go ahead and end the video here. Our baby just woke up, so we're going to go get her.
She's not too happy.
She's not happy, so I'm going to go get her. And yeah, we'll leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you for being here. I'd love to hear some ways and practical ideas for ways that you love delighting in your children, or more importantly, the ways that your children feel delighted in. I'd love to know and to hear just what that looks like for you.
So leave a comment below and let us know what's different about your life and how you react to this video.
Yep, sounds good. You guys have a great day, whatever you're doing, and God bless. Bye.
Bye, guys.